So I'll start that all over again. Welcome. I'm Dr. Alpin, Dr. Maya Alpin. I'm not a medical doctor. The other disclaimer that I'm giving you is that this is not an accreditation program, which means you're not going to get a certificate out of it. That doesn't mean you can't use the skill and sell it. So you're going to learn the skill and then decide how to package it accurately for whatever it is that you yourself do. So, like, there are some people in the crowd here who already have a business existing, like Riley does. I know Judy does. And so maybe instead of, opening a new business or creating a new label, it just becomes a skill that folds into your current offerings. So it's not important exactly that you don't become a hypnotherapist. If you want me to talk about the difference between official hypnotherapist and hypnotist, there's Maria Jim. I see her just came in.
Got it.
I can explain that to you as we go on. The kind of person who comes to a course like this is already a good candidate for a successful business in ACH because most people don't even want to, consider this kind of business. Most people don't. Hello, Maria, welcome. Most people don't even, that's okay, Riley, whenever you get there. Most people don't even think about a 2 hour transformation as a possibility, never mind want to learn how to do it. So you're self selected in that you already have a fantastic faith in the universe, in yourself, in this offering. So if you're wondering, like, well, how am I going to create a 2 hour transformation, or how am I going to get someone to quit smoking, in 2 sessions or 1 session, which I think is a legitimate worry or concern. I just want to say the fact that you're here is the reason why you will, because you're already somebody who believes that. You're already somebody who's open to what's possible. 95% of people are not open to that. They won't even try a modality outside of the norm, never mind become the practitioner for it. So I just want you to be super clear on the fact that you will have the skill in 2 days. You will be able to use it. Do you need to practice it? Do you need to perhaps refine it? Sure, like everything in life. But as I've told this story millions of times already, but probably most of you are bored of hearing it. I learned it in a weekend. I started the next Monday. It did take me a while, about 16 months, to learn how to do it as fast and as reliably as I do it now, but I started practicing it right away. So there's nothing for you to worry about because, like I told you at the start, it's caught and not taught. So you're going to just catch the vibe of it from watching it live today and from asking questions. And from there, you're going to be able to fold it into your practice. So I was showing everybody before we started the reactions button at the bottom. Everybody just go and click your reactions button and put in something festive, like a heart or because we're wishing Maria down here a happy birthday. Maria came on her birthday to learn this new skill, so I'm really excited for that. And I think it's a good omen. Also, as you know, happy birthday, Maria. I've known Maria for like 20 years, so it's very special that we're here together. Also, in the emojis area is the raise your hand button. So that's really important for if you want to move up to the top of the screen so that I can see that you have a question. Yay! Happy birthday, Maria. Many blessings to you in your birthday year so that you can transform your business and your life. So I'm honored to have you here on this day. I'm honored to have you all here. So this is a very casual training. I'm not, expecting anything special from anybody. Please come and go as you please. Turn your screen on and off as you feel comfortable. Don't worry about missing anything because the whole thing is recorded. So that being said, the whole thing is recorded. So don't participate with anything that's private or personal to you because that will become part of the class investment. And if you don't want to share something, it's not good to have it recorded. So just be conscious of the fact that we're recording both days in totality. So what I want to say about ACH before I begin teaching it, and we will get to a demo within like the first 30 minutes, so you're not going to be sitting here super long. But what I want to say to you at the outset is whatever it is you plan to do with this, whatever it is that you do currently, what ACH will help you do is go faster. So if you're doing massage, it's going to help you to get better results from your clients. If you're doing EMDR, you're going to get a faster outcome. If you've done nothing so far, you're going to learn how to just get a really fast result off the bat. So speed has a lot to do with the magic of ACH, and it's not just speed in getting a client results, but speed in whatever it is that you're working on currently. So I do think that it's a results-based business in that you can make claims like in such and such amount of time, which you're going to fill in based on who you are. You can overcome a phobia, you can get through depression, you can quit smoking, whatever it is. So the results-based business is very different than a diagnostic-based business that says to you, okay, well, you seem to have PTSD. I'm not exactly sure how long that's going to take for us to treat. Probably 10 or 12 sessions, maybe more. We'll see as we go. Like that's a traditional way of thinking about therapy, and we're going to just totally change your perspective on that. So I do think that it's important to just realize that we're going to step way outside of the traditional model, and I'm going to tell you all about why and how that's possible. But to begin with, just know that the magic of ACH is not only how effective it is, but how fast it is. So just a tiny bit about how I started. And the reason I'm telling you how I started is not because I'm important, but because it's important that you know how easy it is to start if you really want it. So as most of you know, I have a degree in philosophy. I was a real estate agent for almost 15 years. I had a really good business in New Mexico. I moved to Canada for personal reasons. All kinds of things went down. I really wasn't super sure what I was going to do when I got here. I knew I had skills and assets, but it wasn't fully clear to me what I was going to do. So I trained in traditional hypnosis. Jim is my assistant today. Thank you, Jim, for being here. And the reason I know Jim is through traditional training. So Jim and I learned how to do counting backwards, regular inductions, regression. We have binders full of paper, the two of us. And so we learned like the usual way. And so I did start a business the usual way. Problem was, I'm a single parent. I already had an existing business prior to that, and I have limited hours in the day in order to make a living. So in order to not have something take over my life, I have to limit the time I spend with each person or each client. So what I was finding with the traditional model was it was just taking so long. And it's not that the sessions were taking so long. Sessions are like, the usual 90-minute sessions or whatever have you, but preparing for them takes a long time. Getting ready for what you're going to read out. What is the script going to say? So that all started to wear me out really quickly. Like as soon as I started, it was already wearing me out. Moreover, people were coming back 3, 4, 6 times to get their transformation. So I got frustrated with that pretty fast. I didn't charge a high enough dollar for it compared to what I do now. So I started to think like, I'm a philosophy student. I've known what the mind is capable of for decades. Why don't we just use the mind for what it's capable of? Like the mind is strong. Do you know how strong your mind is in terms of data? It's 300 million hours of continuous television. So if you played a TV for 300 million hours, that would be how much like gigahertz are inside of your mind. So the mind is so powerful. So we know that we're not using it all. We know that it has infinite possibility that we never get to. So I started to think, no, there's got to be a better way. So here we are, fast forward to advanced conversational hypnosis. Advanced conversational hypnosis is a new modality. Hypnosis is not a new modality. Hypnosis is thousands of years old. I studied, what the ancient Greeks thought of hypnosis. They called it like sleep whispering. So someone would whisper something to you. You'd go to like a cave, where someone would whisper to you in your ear at night, and you would wake up feeling better. So it's like the origin of hypnosis, right? But that's suggestion. It's not the same as what we're doing now. Fast forward 2,500 years, well, now we're at the AI point of hypnosis. So, this advanced conversational method was developed in Australia. The guy who developed it is in the lineage of Milton Erickson, his like forefather of this whole story is the great grandfather of hypnosis. Erickson was known for, as his life went on, he got, more and more famous and more special. And he was known for fast transformation, but he was also known for mystery. Like you would sit in front of him, nobody would know exactly how he did it. Like he could say a few words and everything would change. So it was mysterious. I think to this day it's still mysterious. I don't think anyone has ever penetrated exactly what he was doing. But it's important because that's the vibe of ACH. The vibe of ACH is it's going to be a little mysterious, even to you, to understand what's going on, and that's okay. And less is more. So Erickson was known for a few words or um, a few interpretations of questions, and then he would come up with something. ACH is very similar to this. It's very it's very lean. It's very much towards the midline, it doesn't have a lot of fluff. So again, that's how it differentiates itself from conventional therapy. Because in conventional therapy, we often talk to people about symptoms, about their problems, about complaints, and you can spend a whole hour doing that and get nowhere. Well, ACH has no time for that and is not going to be entertaining that kind of conversation. So it's very lean, and that's why it's very fast. So light on talking, heavy on results, heavy on speed. So as you can see, that's the AI model, right? Like AI is this momentum into me doing less, more happening, more effect, and more results. So I call this the AI of modern hypnosis. And I do think that this is cutting edge method that's going to take over mental health care eventually, just because it's so effective and so reliable. So, in terms of success rates, I mean, it's wild, right? Like, if you just take my own practice as a litmus test. So, out of the 150 clients I had last year, I had, over a 90% success rate, over 95, really, if you count. Oh, thank you, Riley. If you count everybody's feeling good. I had two like rejections. So 2 out of 150 is a really low percentage. An average therapist, success rate, not using all of this intelligent technology, is like 50-60%. Hypnosis tends to be like 60 to 80%. So once you get over 90, I mean, you're pretty much in the clear, I think, in terms of worrying or in terms of concerns about what could go right or go wrong. So it's super reliable. And that's another reason that I totally love it, because I don't have to lay in bed at night and worry, well, is that person actually going to quit, or is this person really feeling better? So the fact that I have no worries about what I'm responsible for, that cuts out a lot of stress for me. And so I think if you're interested in taking care of yourself over the long term, the longevity of your career, that's a really important consideration. It's just like, how can I protect my energy and my time as much as possible? So I'm telling you the history of why I chose ACH and why I've made a big business out of it. It's very much because the results are so cool and impressive. The speed factor makes it really easy to monetize. And you yourself don't have to be worried or anxious about preparing or about what happens when the clients leave. So I think it's amazing both for the therapist and for the clients. Okay, so a couple more words on how I view this whole thing. I do think that the power of the mind and hypnosis in general has been known, like I said, for thousands of years. Certainly for the last several decades, it's been used in capitalism, it's used in advertising, it's used in government. So, like, rich white men have been using the power of the mind to their advantage for a long time. Thing is, if we give this power to everybody, then it becomes a superpower that every human being can have. So I think there's been something going on in the history of mental health care or of power structures overall where this has not been publicized on purpose. So I think you being here is in itself a political act. I think it's a revolutionary act, and I definitely think it's an act in the face of what others have been choosing for us for a long time. So part of you being here is going to be learning a skill. Part of you being here is reclaiming your own power, because this is a power that everybody has naturally. It's just that we haven't learned how to capitalize on it. So everything that you do here is going to be a blessing on you personally, and a blessing for the clients as well. So I have radical faith in the subconscious because I've seen how well it works in my clients. And I have radical faith in the subconscious also because I know how little of it we have been taught to use. So that's why I'm inspired to teach this, because why should we not know all of that? Okay, so house rules are really simple. Like I said, it's a casual training. Come and go as you please. Trust yourself. Drop any questions that you have in the chat. I'm just looking at the chat already. See, that's why I have Jim to read out the chat to me so I don't get distracted. So if you have a question that comes up while you're watching a demo or while I'm teaching and I don't hear you or see you, drop it in the chat and Jim will read it out loud, or raise your hand, your virtual hand. I am recording, so don't say anything you don't want recorded. I will record during the breaks as well so that we keep it as one long recording. So if you're, talking on the phone during the break or talking to your kids or whatever, perhaps mute yourself or turn your screen off. Take care of yourself, eat, get water, go to the bathroom. I'll give you a break after the first demo. I'll give you a shorter break in the afternoon, but by all means, like, take care of yourself. That's the most important thing. I'm not going to remind you to do all that stuff. And use the chat for any questions or comments that you have. Jim is in the middle here. Jim Grimm is my assistant. He's a lifelong, hi Jim, lifelong veteran, a very high ranking official in the US Army. He's got all kinds of credentials that I can't even list them all, but you're in really good hands with Jim. So Jim knows tons about this whole method and hypnosis in general. So by all means, if you have any questions or problems, you can appeal to him. Okay, so the demos, like I said, they're caught, not taught. So that's why I do the demos live, to show you the power of ACH right in front of your face, but also so you can feel it as much as watch it in the video. So I do think that's a huge benefit to coming live. Just keep in mind that the demo, the purpose of the demo is instructional, not therapeutic. Okay, so when you have an actual experience of a session, the purpose is therapy. The purpose is for it to be therapeutic. That's not the case here. So I'm not saying that everybody who volunteers here is going to have a breakthrough, is going to have a full session. That's not the purpose of having the demos. So the demos are, whatever they turn out to be is good. If there are mistakes in them, if you're not sure, if you're uncertain, if you need help, that's all fine. If it doesn't amount to a breakthrough, that's fine too. Just remember, the purpose of the demo is instructional. That being said, if you volunteer, you will be happy you did. The very best way to learn ACH is to be a volunteer client or a volunteer therapist, or both. So by all means, volunteer. It's the best way to learn. You can't go wrong. My mic will be on during the demos, so you don't have to worry. It's not like you're just going to be out there on your own trying to figure it out. Like, my voice will be there with you, and I will help you in any way that you need. So just unmute yourselves for a minute and just yell out to me, or speak out to me. You don't need to yell, I guess. What are you here for? What is your desire to get out of this course? It could be a word, it could be a sentence. Just Unmute yourself and tell me. Please.
Confidence, I think.
Confidence?
Confidence.
I have a sentence. I'm just fascinated to find out what I might combine with my EMDR, which is so effective on its own, right? That how I might combine this and put them together. Thanks.
Love that.
I'm here for expansion and transformation.
And I mean, you're thinking of an actual career, or at least integrating this into your career, right?
Mm-hmm.
So real transformation. Cool. I assure you both of those things will occur very soon on your birthday.
Riley says a new skill to combine with psychedelic therapy.
Yeah, cool. I love that. Okay. So most of you are expanding your current offerings. Anybody else? Anybody have anything personal that they want? So what I expected when I started ACH was just to have a little side business that would help me sell health products. Like I did not expect to have a six-figure fully booked business right off the bat. So I'm just telling you, it was a tidal wave for me. And I don't think that's me personally, although I'm really proud of myself, but I do think it's the power of this technique. So I'm just saying you might be expecting one thing and you might find that another thing is what you end up getting out of it. I give you that as prayer for you if that's what you want, because that's what happened to me. And I'm still floored at the complete, the complete effectiveness that came so quickly. So whatever you're expecting, you could possibly expand it faster than you think. So what I want you to do before I get to my slides, and I promise you they're not long or boring, but what I want you to do now is just turn off your screen for a moment. I'll leave mine on, but turn yours off. And the reason I want you to turn it off is because in whatever way works for you, I want you to just let go of everything you believe about what's possible about your business and your mind and the limits of your skill set right now. So the reason I say turn off your screen is for some people, it helps to like shake that out, let it go. If you want to just close your eyes and like allow yourself to like see yourself putting all of those limits, all of those expectations in a rocket ship, or bury them under the ground or burn them, do whatever you want to do, shake them out, walk around your room, meditate them out like Hollande is doing, like whatever it takes for you to just set this as a new starting point, because we're starting right now, something completely new that is going to blow your mind. So reset your own mind. I know you're all qualified to do that as it is. Take a moment just to release your preconceptions and to just assure yourself right now that more is possible than what you thought. Shake out the past, shake out your limits. You can breathe them out. And so when you're ready, you can come back on just with a completely fresh and open view of what's about to happen. The last thing I want to tell you as you're coming back is the sessions that you see here, they're not identical to the sessions you've experienced with me. So like anyone who has seen me in practice, go ahead and turn your screens back on. Anyone who's seen me in practice, you might be thinking, oh, that's not exactly the session that I'm used to. It doesn't matter. That's fine. The reason it's not the same is because, for one thing, I'm adding MACH, which is the next level of this. So when I'm in session, it has more layers. Also, my sessions are therapeutic. So they are meant to have a destination, and the ones today are not. So don't worry about that. That's a built-in distinction. Does anyone have any questions so far just on the introduction? what we're here for, what is ACH, what's going on. So today I'm going to teach you hypnotic interview, which is the core of ACH. Tomorrow I'm going to teach you the structure of a session. And in the afternoon, I'm going to teach you emotional responses and abreaction drill in case you ever get into hot water. So day 3 is a business day. So day 3, you're going to learn about how to monetize this, how to market it, how to package it, and how to explain it to people. So today we're going to work on hypnotic interview. Can everybody see the screen? No problems? Okay, so like I said, I can't see you all when my screen is being shared. So if you have questions, unmute yourself or raise your hand. So, advanced conversational hypnosis with Mama Soul Doc. Okay, module 1, the new frontier. As you can see, this is a picture of the new frontier because that's what we're really doing, is moving into a new category of healthcare. We're moving into a new category also of what's possible in limited time. So this new frontier thinking is not just new frontier about the modality, but also new frontier about the possibilities for healthcare and the possibilities for transformation in yourself. So yes, I do think that this is going to be hard to believe on a certain level. And again, that's why the demos are so valuable. But also what you learn in this weekend is going to prove to you that things are not what they appear to be. And so I think that's where the overall transformation feeling comes from, is just realizing that what we've known and what we've been taught is not always the accurate representation of opportunity or what's possible. So why use the advanced conversational method? Well, I have listed here 6 good reasons. First reason is when we're using a script or a specific technique for a specific problem or preparing, what we're doing is making an assumption about the client. We're out of the blocks already sure that we have expertise and we're going to assist them. And that is the traditional model, by definition, has always been the diagnostician or the person who is paid or the professional. And I'm not saying that to be disparaging because you are professionals and I am a professional, but there is a weird preconception that because we have a label of being a therapist or because we have a label of being a PhD or whatever it is, therefore we have insight into the client that they don't have. ACH refutes that idea. ACH refutes the idea that we have some more knowledge about the client than they do. And if you really think about it, it's not that sensible because a person has been themselves all their life, right? So they know a lot about who they are. We only know them in the context of the hour or 2 hours that we see them every week or whatever, every 2 weeks. And that's as a traditional model. So it doesn't totally make sense that we would be equipped enough to diagnose anybody just based on our education. The thing with preparing is also, the problem with preparing is also that many times people think that they have one problem, but then when they appear, it turns out they have a totally different problem. Sometimes they announce that and sometimes they don't. So sometimes you'll hear of, oh, okay, I'd like to, lose weight. And then you prepare all your scripts for losing weight and you get ready to tell a person, okay, you only eat good food and you only, drink water and you walk outside every day, and then they show up at the office, you're ready to give this script, and they say, the food thing's not bothering me that much anymore, but I'm having a really hard time with my boyfriend. Okay, and then you're like, shit, now what am I going to do? Like that's a whole other topic. So another problem with preparing in the traditional hypnosis way with scripts and techniques is that we can't really predict that we're going to get it right. And we can't really be sure that even if we did so-called get it right, that it would be right for that client. So this whole thing with diagnostics and predictive power is antithetical to ACH completely. So in a way of speaking, the Western model is oriented towards erasing symptoms or to helping people cope. So when somebody says to you, I want to quit smoking, we think that the outcome that would be good would be if they actually quit smoking. But ACH takes a different tact on it, which is, why are they smoking? What is the issue that made them smoke? And so it turns out that smoking is really a symptom and that there's something else going on. So the traditional method would want to help that person figure out a way to stop smoking. The ACH method, although we will be selling quit smoking, the ACH method at the core is going to help the person figure out why they were a smoker, and then they will naturally quit smoking once they have insight into their own mindset or their own psyche. So instead of, okay, now, carry the cigarette in the other hand and have a, ashtray in your room where you can smell all the cigarette butts and stand in a different place when you smoke outside, like all those things that we tell people or try to help them with, those are all coping mechanisms. And I'm not saying they're bad, but I'm saying usually regular, so-called regular therapy is limited to, okay, here's a bunch of ways you can get rid of that by coping, instead of let's just figure out what the bottom line problem was and go with that. And you might be thinking, well, what if the bottom line problem doesn't erase the symptom? Well, one thing I can tell you from doing this for a while is people are so happy to get in touch with their true self and to get in touch with the part of themselves that they've never had access to, that they're not worried about that. They're not so worried about, okay, well, what if the symptom doesn't go away? Okay, so symptom versus root cause. Main difference is traditional therapy models, symptom-based, symptom obsessed, actually. I think the whole Western medical system is symptom obsessed, to be quite honest with you. ACH, much more interested in reasons and causes why these things are happening. Hypnotic suggestions, language patterns, confusion techniques. It's a lot to remember, right? Like you have to memorize all that stuff or have copious notes on it. So another reason to learn ACH is to just make your own life a lot lighter and a lot easier. You become a lot more powerful also when you do not depend on all kinds of external items to you. So one thing I love about ACH is it's really easy to transport. Like you can sit down with basically anyone at any time and do an ACH session. I'm not saying that's necessarily what you're going to want to do, but it doesn't require a bunch of preparation. It doesn't require a bunch of stuff. So it's a big load off. And I think that's a big confidence booster, because you know that just from the power of your questioning, you can take a person from A to Z. And you don't need to have a bunch of stuff. You don't need to know a language pattern. You don't need to know confusion tactics. You don't need to know how to program someone's mind. You don't need affirmation technology. You don't need NLP. You don't need EMDR. You don't need any of those things. I'm not saying any of them are bad. I'm not saying any of them will hurt anybody, but I'm just saying you don't need them. So this is like as light as you can get in terms of mindset. Same with homework and audios. Like one problem I always had with regular therapy was like, I'm already here. We're already spending $150. I already spent an hour with you. And now you want me to go home and like write a journal about this too. And you also want me to like listen to a video. And now I have to find it on my phone. And now I can't find the link. And it's just like an endless amount of stuff. So I think it's a lot more effective when a client leaves and their problem is solved, and we don't need to weigh them down with a bunch of stuff that 90% of the time they don't even do anyway, or they find it tiring and then they have a negative cognition of you. So I think repeating this familiar model from childhood of now keep going, you have to work on it more, it's more work, it's more work, it's more work. Hey, guess what? Do you want to do more work? Like, no, those days are over. Like that's what AI is good for, is we're all working too hard. Why can't we just work less? So that's exactly what this advanced conversational method is all about. No need to weigh the client down with so much stuff. Number 4, multiple sessions, multiple hours, packages, programs. I mean, how many of you have seen this whole thing, of 6 sessions and I'll give you 2 free, or, it's 8 hours, but also you can come back to my workshop and have this audio for free, or, it's 6 sessions, but it could take 8, maybe you want to buy a 10 pack, like there are all these offerings on the market out there, and they're all packages, programs, things people need to invest in, things people need to do over a long period of time. ACH is going to say all of that is not needed anymore. We don't need to stretch everything out. I wrote here negative hypnosis is not logical. And what I mean by that is when you tell someone, I'm not sure how long it's going to take for this to resolve itself, that's negative hypnosis. You're telling them your problem is bigger than I can understand, and I'm not sure how long it's going to take us to resolve it. So I think that's already a disadvantage to the client when you tell them, I'm not sure how long this is going to take, or if you buy an 8-pack, you get 2 free, because that's telling them this is going to be a long process and your problem is going to be with you a long time. So we're totally discarding that whole view of I'm not sure how long it's going to take, because ACH is very dependable and predictable. Same thing again, rapport, pre-talk, suggestibility tests, deepeners, relaxation. This is all traditional hypnosis, right? We have to build rapport. We have to give them a pre-talk and let them know what's happening. We have to test their suggestibility. We have to use a deepener. This is all too much work. This is all unnecessary. Hypnosis is a natural state of mind. Please remember that. Hypnosis is a natural state of mind. You don't need to take someone there. It's already in them. We just need to invite it. So we don't need to force them into hypnosis. We don't need to walk them into it or drag them, as the case may be. It's too much work. So what really matters is that the problems go away, not that we set up a whole rigmarole that, may or may not have the effect that we want. Moreover, let me tell you, a lot of people don't like it. Like you have a lawyer who makes $500 an hour and you tell them, okay, sit down, close your eyes, 10, 9, 8. They're just like, fuck this. I don't want to listen to this. I have a brief to get to. I have things to do. They just want to quit. They just want to get out of their issue. They don't want to listen to you walk them down a staircase or whatever it is. So rapport, pre-talk, all that stuff, it doesn't even work on a lot of people. Certainly not a lot of super high-powered, high-functioning people. So this method was designed actually with lawyers in mind to, circumvent that whole problem. And finally, advanced conversational hypnosis does not require that we explain everybody what the modality is and how it works and why. Yes, I do that to a limited extent on the discovery call, and I'll explain that to you shortly. But long story short is clients don't really care about the modality. They just care about if you get them to where you said you were going to get them. That's it. They don't need to understand it 100%. They need to understand it enough to consent to it. So this is another way in which advanced conversational hypnosis is a useful method, because it cuts out all of these traditional expectations, which are very time consuming and expensive for you. Okay, this is a very important slide. All problems are subconscious problems. We know that all problems exist in a client's unconscious or subconscious. How do we know that that's true? When somebody says to you, okay, my problem is, I am not motivated to exercise. How do we know that there's some further issue? When somebody comes to you and says, I'm not motivated to exercise, how do you know that the problem is actually not that? Take a guess. When somebody says to you, my problem is smoking, how do you know that the problem is not smoking? Anybody? Exactly. Okay, Riley said it. She's in the chat. So if she gave me the silent correct answer, exactly right, Riley, because they think that that's what it is. If they say that and they think that, why didn't they solve it? I mean, it's so obvious, right? People say, okay, here's my problem. Okay, well, if that's the problem, then you know how to solve that problem, right? But that's not the problem, because if they think that's the problem and they can't do anything with it, then clearly there's more to the story than that. So because they think it is the right answer. Anything that the client thinks, you basically know is a projection or an imagination that they have. It's not accurate. It's their conscious mind trying to rationalize or justify what's going on, which is perfectly human and perfectly normal. And we all do it all the time, right? But the fact of the matter is, if we knew what our problems were and we knew where they existed, we would fix them. But we don't. That's why we ask for help. So all problems are subconscious problems. So if that's true, how can you prepare for that? If somebody says to me, my problem is smoking, and I know that that's what they think the problem is, but that's not the problem, then how is it logical for me to help them to quit smoking with a non-smoking script? Like, that just doesn't make any sense. It actually, the more I teach this and the more I do it, the more I think it's so bizarre how the whole thing is set up right now. It's like crazy. So somebody comes to you and says, I would like to exercise more. And you sit them down and you say, okay, can you see yourself in your mind exercising more? Like, it just is so strange that that kind of suggestion has been used for so long, when we know that all that's going to happen from that is a behavioral change. Like, yes, it might change their behavior, but behavior is a very low level neurological function compared to identity or compared to knowing who you really are. So how can you prepare when somebody tells you a symptom? How does that make any sense? How can you prepare a script for that? How can you have a pre-planned technique? Like, the beauty of ACH is that it's all extemporaneous, and that means it happens in the moment. That's why it's so fun and adventuresome, and also why it's so light on preparation. So long story short is, all problems are inaccessible to the subject. All problems are inaccessible to the subject. They are sitting in front of you because they can't get access to their own problem. That's why they're there. If a client's problem exists in the subconscious, which is inaccessible to their conscious, when they tell you about the problem, they are consciously rationalizing and giving their conclusions to give their conjectures or best guess. Do you ever notice how children do this? I'm a mom of two, right? I have a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old. Have you ever noticed how that's like the habit of a child? I mean, mine are pretty good now because I've coached them out of it. But like, when you see kids playing, one of them falls down, the other one trips over the other one, and then they both run up to the teacher and say, and what happened is this guy fell and this guy pushed him and then this happened. And now I'm hurt, and now it hurts. And they have like already explained you the whole thing in 5 seconds, where it's totally untrue, like they didn't see what actually happened. But they come up with something instantly so that they can rationalize the whole thing away and get some sympathy or get some help. And it's totally human and it's totally normal to do that. But as adults, we continue to do that. And the reason that I feel like shit is because this guy did this, and then I went through this, and then this happened, and now this is going on, and I've never been good at that. And this is the problem that I've been having my whole life. Okay. It's the same thing the kid just did when they tripped and the thing happened. They're just coming up with something real quick to say that makes perfect sense to their own mind. But like, is it accurate? Is it even close to accurate? Nobody really knows. So we don't need to pay attention to any of that. And that's what I'm going to teach you now is how do we differentiate between listening to that kind of stuff and listening to what their conscious or their subconscious mind actually wants you to know or hear. So what I've said so far is basically that the conscious mind loves to guess. It's addicted to guessing. Essentially, humans are always going to guess at what they are feeling because that's how we're programmed, because we want to rationalize or explain. At the same time, people ask for help because they can see that they actually don't know what's going on and they don't know how to get out of it. So people are only as good as their ability to say, I've gotten to a limiting point, but there's got to be more. But they don't see this whole part that we've said in the last 20 minutes about why that is, that their conscious mind has created a justification or conclusion where there's really something more going on. So that's why we're going to become the experts at that. That's where you become a ninja at solving problems. Clients really don't know what to do. So that's why they're going to come to us. The thing that clients do, and if you have already been in this business or even in the massage business like Maria, or any kind of healthcare business, you've already heard this millions of times. You've heard people venting. You've heard people's conscious emotions. You've heard instructions. You've heard their feelings. You've heard non-associated information. And that reminds me of this, and that. Okay, I had nothing to do with why you're here. I don't even know why we're talking about that. People will always give you their conclusions. People will give you a ton of complaining and venting. People will give you guesses. People will give you assumptions. And people will give you examples of their problem. There's a guy mowing outside. Can you guys hear? Can you guys still hear me? Can you hear him mowing? It's fine. It won't take long. I'm sure he'll move soon. I could close this window though. So clients really don't know much, and this is what you're going to hear from them, and that's fine. I'm going to show you now how to become, I call myself a subconscious mind whisperer. So what I'm good at is ignoring all this. That's really my best talent, is when I hear all this stuff, I hear it and I'm not at all saying there's no value in it. Of course, people have a right to their feelings. People have the right to their experiences, their examples and everything. And by all means, sometimes it does belong in the session. But bottom line is, that's not going to get them out of it. It's just not. And the longer you spend here with all this stuff, the longer their problem exists. So if I sound mean or like terse when I say I don't care about that, I do care deeply that the person change. I care about that they find a way out of this. And the longer I entertain this and the longer I allow for it, the more, cemented they become in their problem. And I'm not saying there's something wrong with conventional therapy. As you all know, I think everyone here knows I've done hundreds of hours of it. I needed it. It got me out of PTSD. It's a very important thing to have in the world. But I did find eventually that it was repetitive and it felt a little bit like circling the drain. Like, well, you already heard that problem. You already know I have that problem. We've already gone over that one 20 times. Like, how much can we talk about it? How much does even venting to a therapist help? It just creates a circular existence inside of the problem, which makes the person believe their problem is permanent. So all this stuff, okay, everyone has a right to it for sure. It's an important piece of being human, but also our technology is not going to focus on any of this. What is this picture here for? If you've watched the previous video, you already know the answer. What is the picture here representing, like in terms of the mind? It's everything that was in the last slide, right? It's all this trash that people will throw at you when they come for the session. Their complaints, their interpretation, their conclusion. Then a traditional therapist takes this conscious information and formulates a strategy based on conscious information. So we then bring our intelligence and our skill set, which we think, oh, well, I have a bunch of degrees, right? So I must know how to interpret your conscious information. So let me interpret your conscious information and make you a plan. Let me help you get out of it. Okay, but if my picture illustration here is accurate, then you're taking the garbage part of what they're saying and creating a plan based on that. That doesn't really make sense. Like, it's really far out that we're still doing that. It's hard to understand actually why that's the standard now that I've been doing the opposite. So now that you have a client who's giving you theories, which is really their best guess about a problem, which they have really no idea what it actually is, or they've given you examples or information that's irrelevant, then the therapist is taking symptomatic information and attaching a therapeutic strategy. It doesn't really make sense. So when I say here, stop trying to help, I know that that's a big break from how we've all been raised up as healers or as practitioners, because helping is like the cornerstone of therapy, right? Helping is the cornerstone of being there for people. But in this modality, we are really going to stop trying to help. And I mean that literally. Like, we're not going to offer any advice. We're not going to ask anybody for solutions. We're not going to make suggestions. We're not going to supply coping mechanisms. We're not going to make sure people feel, comfortable with the solution, because all of that is on the surface. And so if we just stop there, yeah, maybe they'll feel better for a week or a month or a year, but it's not going to be a permanent change. So this picture here, like, probably these guys are doing a great job with this car trying to fix it. But if this was your mind, we would say, stop that. Stop trying to fix everything. Stop trying to relocate the thing. Stop trying to help me. It's not going to work. Only my subconscious knows how to heal me. You, the practitioner, do not know that. You don't have access to that. And so this is really a challenge in terms of putting down your education and your ego, which, is why I had you shake it out a few minutes ago, because you really have to put like a clear stopping point in your mind in terms of helping people and do something other than that now. So it feels a little strange because I'm telling you, you're not going to be trying to help anyone. You're not going to be looking for solutions. You're not going to be giving advice whatsoever. So you can now, at this moment, trash all your ideas about therapy, giving advice, giving suggestions, affirmation technology, or any hierarchy involved with coaching or life. And I think this is a very hard thing to do when you get into this, profession, because that's why you're in the profession, is because you have more information than somebody else. But actually, ACH is a leveling. It's a leveling of the playing field. So I'm not going to say to the client ever that I know more or have insight into their problem. All I can say to them is, we'll be on par in this session, and I'm going to help you to get into your own subconscious mind so that your own solution will appear. But I'm not going to do it this way, where the power is, I know how to help you. I have a strategy. I have a skill set. I have a language pattern. If you listen, you will get help from that. That won't work. And why won't that work? Because the subconscious mind is smart. This subconscious mind, who's representing the client right here, is like, it's 7 or 8 years old. It's very childlike. It's very juvenile. But you know how 7 and 8-year-olds are. They're smart. Like, if you tell them yada, yada, then they'll immediately say, but I don't want to do that. But I don't feel like that. And guess what? The subconscious is the same. It's always going to protect itself. So if you start telling it, let me tell you how to help you. Close your eyes and I can get you there. It's like, stop, I don't want to. And does it work for some people? Of course, some people are super suggestible. Some people love it. I'm not saying I never use a traditional method anymore, but I'm saying overall, as soon as you start telling a subconscious mind client or subject, I can give you something that you don't have, it's going to say, fuck you, I'm not interested in that, back off. And then you've lost your access point to it. And that's a very big problem if what you're looking for is the reason why the problem exists to begin with. So what we're going to do instead of that is my most favorite important word for the course, curiosity. You're not going to give solutions. You're not going to figure anything out. You're not going to come up with anything. All you're going to do is bring your genuine curiosity. And I mean, all you're going to do is be curious. You're just going to investigate. Do you know how kids investigate? Do they need instructions? Like if you take a kid out to the, woods, do you need to say to them like, okay, go find all the sticks and go find out, what kind of moss is over there and bring me back some insects? Like, no, you don't need to say one single thing. Kids do it in the most, random, spontaneous, genuine way. And it's beautiful too, because you never know what you're going to get, right? You'll come out of there with you'll come out of your woods walk with a bunch of things you didn't predict or know that they were going to find. And so I want you to adopt that exact same spontaneity and openness in this process. So it's like totally, literally curiosity. Whatever question you have on your mind is the right question to ask, of course, as long as it's appropriate and polite. When I say appropriate and polite, I'm going to actually put an addendum on that and talk to you more about it this afternoon and later, because sometimes hard questions are the best questions, challenging questions. But so for now, to start, when you're going through the first demo, all you're going to be interested in is, what do I want to know about? What do I want to know about? What do I want to know about? What would be really helpful if I understood? So you're going to look for the difference between conscious and unconscious information. Conscious information is everything I've talked about so far. Here's my understanding of it. Here's my interpretation of it. This is the problem. Here are some examples. My venting, my interpretation of why I have it. That's conscious. Unconscious is going to be what's left over after that. And I am going to show you how to figure that out this afternoon. You're going to try to isolate the problem. Like, well, what is the actual problem? So you have to ask questions about that. We're going to do a process called finding the knots. So I'm going to talk about that more and more as the days unfold. But long story short is, a way of thinking about a problem is as a series of knots, okay? So problems like to hold hands with other problems. So one problem that a person thinks of is actually a series of littler problems called knots that are all intertwined together. So the reason it's a problem is because these knots have gotten really tightly squeezed in together, and the client or the subject doesn't know how to unravel them such that the whole thing will come apart. And so they just think of it as my problem. So what we're going to do in the conversational method is allow each problem to unwind itself on its own time and in its own way, and then go for another problem or another knot, and then another one and another one. And they're going to be naturally connected together, as you'll see in the demo, so that you don't have to keep on thinking, what's the next knot? It's just going to unwind itself naturally because it's part of the previous one. So all the knots come apart eventually, and then the problem disappears. So very often you'll ask somebody at the end of the session, so what do you think of the problem? And they'll say to you, what problem? And this is a very stunning experience because you're like, well, you just paid $1,500 to solve the problem. You must know what the problem is. And they don't. And how is that possible? Because the problem they brought has now changed to where it doesn't have the same charge or the same identity that it had when they came. So it's kind of like if you have a knit sweater and you pull one strand of the sweater and then the whole sweater starts to come apart. That's what finding knots and unwinding knots is all about. And eventually the whole thing comes apart. So it's, as I told you, easier to catch than teach this method. So now you have a preview of what it is like in theory. And now we're going to go ahead and be curious. Okay, so questions just so far on the theory. Anybody have any questions? Okay, so we're gonna take a few minute break, like 5 minutes. And then when we come back, we're going to do a demo. So who wants to volunteer to be the client, first client? Maria, happy birthday. You're about to get a great birthday gift. Okay, who would like to demo to be the first therapist? So what you're gonna do as the first therapist demo is just be curious. There's absolutely nothing else to do. Somebody's gonna have to do it. So I'll give you a 5 minute potty break. And when we come back, Jim will have Maria as the client and I'll figure out who the therapist is. Does anybody want to do it? I know some of you are not exactly where you're going yet today, so you need to be located where you're going to be. Okay, well, I'll check back in a minute. Okay, so I'll see you at 1:15, 1:15 my time. And we're just going to the bathroom because this will take an hour or more. So just getting yourself ready for that. So in terms of the problem, Maria, it's not going to be your major, biggest life problem that you've ever had. It's going to be some kind of mid-range, small to mid-range problem. And like I said, no expectation of solving it necessarily. We're just going to explore it. So all that's going to happen is we're going to ask you questions and be curious about the problem. Who wants to actually volunteer to be the therapist?
Nicole has comments.
Okay. What are they?
Oh, let Nicole speak for herself then.
I said I would do it if nobody else wants to do it.
Yeah, do it. Well, okay, Riley, you'll do the next one when you're back at your house so that you have better internet. And Nicole, Nikki, do you prefer Nikki or Nicole?
Nikki's fine.
I feel like getting my red glasses out. I have matching red glasses here.
I have some like the ones that you're wearing right now, but they're too heavy for me. I have to stick with these.
I have a collection here in my office. Sometimes people come to my office and they're like, are the glasses part of the hypnosis? I'm like, no, I'm just obsessed with just
It could be.
nothing to do with it. Okay, so you can go ahead and turn your screen off or volume, whichever you have on right now, except for Nikki and Maria. So Maria and Nikki is an experienced hypnotist as it is. So you're in good hands here. But I'm also going to leave my voice, my mic open. So Nikki, if you need me or you have questions, you can ask, and I will also jump in if I can help you. So don't be offended if I interrupt you. It's just to.
No. I want you to interrupt me.
So the premise of this demo right now is just as bare bones as we can possibly get it, which is you're just going to be curious about whatever she says. So I'm going to feed you the first question, and the first question is always the same. What's the problem?
Hi, Maria.
Hey.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Okay, so the problem.
Um, hmm. I don't know. I mean, the first thing that popped in my mind was imposter syndrome.
Right? Imposter. And why are you feeling like that is the problem?
Um,
So I'm going to interrupt you already and say, let's just think about questions in the following terms: who, what, where, when. Those are nice, what is the right word? Generic questions. When you say why to a person,
Mm-hmm.
automatically what happens is their conscious mind wants to please you and give you an answer. So why questions tend to be the least hypnotic questions. So
Oh.
instead of why is that the problem, why
Mhm.
not try something? I just used why, that was funny. Why not use something like, what's the problem with having that problem?
Mm.
Or
Or would what
what's the
makes you feel like that's the problem, or is that still?
Do you see the difference? If you say to her why, then she has to
Mhm.
give you a justification. When she gets a greater bandwidth, like, well, what's the problem with that problem? She doesn't have to make up a theory or give you an answer. She just needs to say, well, the reason I'm here is because yada, yada, yada.
Okay.
So I'm not saying why questions never work, but I think that they're the most challenging.
The other ones are more leading, like more subconscious.
And don't worry if you're wondering right now, well, why doesn't she just tell me what the list of questions is? For one thing, if you've nosed around, you can see that they're posted in the Facebook group. There is a list of 80 questions. But also, you don't need to know you don't need to pre-predict the questions as long as you just stick with your curiosity.
Okay. All right. What is the problem with imposter syndrome being the problem?
Yeah, good.
I feel like it prevents me from really helping people in my work.
Okay. And
So what are you curious about, Nikki? So she just said it prevents me from helping people in my work. Well, I want to know, first of all, well, what's your, so let's just clarify. Well, okay, so what
what
kind,
is it?
yeah,
Yeah, what is your work?
and what does it prevent you from in your work?
Yeah, well, I'm a massage therapist, but I also do, incorporate energy work and polarity therapy into it and stuff. But I don't know, I feel like it's a slippery thing because people look to me to be some kind of expert to help them. And yet I'm more interested in empowering them. And that's why I'm here today, is this whole helping them get to the root of what they're coming to me with and resolve that within themselves is what I'm interested in doing. And over 14 years of doing massage therapy, I feel like there's definitely a place for it, but I want to work with people in a deeper level. And yeah. So I don't know what else to say about that.
When does the imposter syndrome come up?
Good question. Good job.
I guess pretty often, as far as if a person has an ongoing issue with their body, then I think, gosh, am I really helping them? Is my work actually effective? Because I have a lot of repeat clients that keep coming back. And I know they enjoy my work and benefit from it, but I guess for me, I would like to see more resolution somehow in their issue.
Right. I'm trying to read, somebody said in the chat, what about a question like, where in your body do you feel this?
Hmm. Kind of things are in my neck right now and have been recently, the base of my neck.
Just as a preview, I will teach you this method that Riley is already hinting at tomorrow. So I'm totally in agreement with Riley that that's a good direction to go.
Okay.
And I just had a question a moment ago, which was, she said, well, my clients all come back and are happy with my work, but I feel some way about the repeat clientele. I was perplexed already, because wouldn't a business with repeat clientele mean that you're great at your job? So I'm confused about why she takes it as a critique when really it's potentially a compliment.
Mm.
I mean, were you curious about that, Nikki? Like, why does she think that repeat clients is a bad thing?
Right? 'Cause that what you do? Like, you're not trying to, but if they have a physical ailment, I see what you mean. Like, you want to, if somebody says, I've got an issue with my shoulder or something like that, and they keep coming back, then you feel like maybe it's a deeper emotional issue that they have to let go of.
Big time. I guess I'm approaching my work within the limitations of the scope of my practice as a massage therapist and hands-on person. And I have a background in psychology as well, a degree in it. And it's like, I guess I feel frustrated by that limitation of not being able to help them get to the root of the problem and always staying at the symptomatic level with them, you know?
So when you're doing a Reiki session, are you also talking to them about stuff or no?
I don't do a lot of standalone Reiki sessions, but the polarity I incorporate into the massage sessions, and I do talk to them about some stuff for sure. So it is already kind of happening. But
yeah, during the massage session, are you talking about what's bothering them, or
if they seem open to it and engage me in that conversation, then I do. I will try to do it in a body-based way of like bringing it back to, we're here to help your body and to help your body speaking to us about something, you know, and inevitably things come up as far as their internal emotional process or, you know, what's happening in their lives. But I feel like I stop that process with them because I don't really go there with them, because I don't feel like it's in the scope of what I'm licensed to do.
okay,
And
for
so, yeah.
Like, I shouldn't be poking around where I'm poking around type stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
We're trying to fix it.
So
Mhm.
I'm curious about, in terms of why she's here. Why did she volunteer?
Okay, why did you volunteer? That's a why question.
I mean, I agree. And so maybe a way to ask it would be like, well, what do you want to get out of this visit with me?
Okay, yes. What would you like to get out of this visit?
And the reason I'm asking that is because all I've heard her say so far is that she has a pretty accurate view of her job, of her skill set, of who she is. So I don't really know, what does she want yet?
Hmm.
You, Nikki?
I mean, I think she just wants more confidence and being able to feel like she can actually say, you know, to guide people, not say what your problem is, but, you know, to guide people more to figuring it out on their own.
So check that back with the client. So
I think that's pretty accurate. I mean, I do want a sense of confidence in engaging with people, and helping facilitate and draw out their own innate inner system of healing and, getting on track with what keeps maintaining these physical problems for them. So,
And why is that important to you, Maria?
well, because it's exhausting for me too, to kind of constantly be like, oh, let me help you, like hold space for you to release this, another week. Let's work on the neck, and then it's like, it feels like, what were you saying earlier, Maya? The circling the drain. Like,
Yep.
It feels like this endless loop of like a cul-de-sac of useless, and it's not really useless, but
Yes, I do.
same shit, different day.
Yeah. It's
So
so
you
interesting.
like an actual therapist, that they come to you every week to just basically drain your energy.
Yeah,
It's-
like it's a kind of selfish reason I'm here, to be honest, my motivation ultimately, my intention is to help people be empowered. And also I need to empower myself to, set certain boundaries and limits with people so they're not just like, help me, like you make me feel better for this little bit of time. And it's like, that's cool. And what do you do with the rest of your week?
Do you see how
So,
we're only like 8 or 9 minutes in right now, and already now she's more willing to volunteer what her real problem is? Like the original problem was not the problem, and now the real problem is already like, all right, you tired me out. Let me just tell you. I love it. And I mean, that's what ACH is so great at. It will tire out the symptom until the real thing emerges. It really happened quickly just now for Maria. And I love it when a client says to me, let me be honest with you. Like, because I know that that's their subconscious, like, all right, I'm tired of this. Let's just get to the point. So, like, sometimes that takes an hour or 90 minutes. In this case, it took 10 minutes. So, let me be honest with you. The real problem is that I'm exhausted and I'm fucking tired of all these people repeating themselves and asking me to do the same thing over and over when I know in my higher self that there's more to the story. So she's telling you, I have an exhaustion problem. I also have I haven't fulfilled my full potential problem. I'm guessing this is also a business problem, because if you don't love what you do, that becomes a problem. So now you have a lot more to go on. So Nick, what do you want to know based on what you now know? And it could be anything. What are you curious about, just in general, about Maria and her situation?
Second.
What would you like to have happen when this process works for you, Maria? What would you like to occur?
Well, ultimately, I want more freedom in my career and in my livelihood, in my practice of creating abundance for myself and my family. And I want to do it with more ease and, work smarter and not harder. I don't know.
So
And
Nikki,
then more joy and like creativity in whatever I do as far as a livelihood.
what's stopping you from having that? I love Maria has a really like clear subconscious pattern. Is everybody noticing it? I'll ask you at the end if you guys all pick up on it.
What's stopping me from having it?
So just watch everyone. She's retrieving information. Do you see that? I'll explain it later, but see how she's like, she's looking for the data. It's like when your computer is searching and you just, you have the little
It's a
clock.
little like
Yeah,
the thing on the computer.
exactly. Or it's like an ellipsis, like, okay, I might have to go retrieve this one from some other, filing system. Okay, so that's what trance is, everybody. That's the beginning of trance.
Hmm.
And see, she's still working on it. Her little dial is still going around and around. And that's what we want. That's what trance is. So there's no rush. You can say to her, just take your time. I'm not in a rush. Take your time.
Stopping me, I guess guess there's the word. I guess it's my commitment to helping the people that are already loyal and devoted clients, and also the kind of allure of, or the quote unquote sense of safety of already having an established practice, already having a livelihood, an income. So fear of jumping into something totally different, and maybe fear of failing at that, or fear of losing what I've already taken 14 years to build.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Nikki, what do you already know about Maria at this point?
That she is comfortable but uncomfortable.
Good one. I like that. You're right. Yeah, exactly. She's so comfortable that she's uncomfortable getting more uncomfortable because she's so comfortable the way it is.
Exactly. I'm in the same boat. So
That's true. Yeah. You're both in the leaping position here. Okay. So given that you are in the same boat, what do you want to know more than you know already? What are you curious about?
What does it look like for you to be successful and step out? What does that look like to you? What does that feel like to you?
Hmm. I think it would feel like having an abundance of energy to start my day, to engage with people, a sense of enthusiasm about what I'm doing during the day, whatever tasks they are. A sense of timelessness in a way where I can be fully immersed in the present moment, which is something I've, for many years and for most of my time practice as a body worker, experienced. And that's why I chose to do it, is because it's an opportunity every time with every person to drop into the present moment in a really profound way. It's not necessarily available and accessible in just everyday interactions out in the world. So sense of deep meaning and purpose, and making more money. Honestly, I would love to make double my income at least, and really set up some more structure and security for retirement and for a future of comfort, and like not have that stress.
Yeah,
That's it. Take your time. You're doing a good job. So what I'm doing now is just process instruction, because you can see something is happening, right? Slow down. This is why ACH is powerful, because the truth of the matter is always right there. So everyone who's watching right now can feel it. Really, what she's saying is not that I have imposter syndrome, but I'm fucking tired of working so hard, and I need more. I need more security. So now we're in a whole different category, right?
Yeah.
When someone I mean, your experience, Nikki, your experience, Maria, when somebody is going into their emotion, what do you want to ask them? What's
What's,
happening right now?
yeah, what are you feeling right now?
Yeah,
What emotion is coming up for you?
take your time. We're all here to.
Definitely just let it out. Whatever you need to let out, just definitely let it out.
I feel I don't know, overwhelmed's not really an emotion, but
It's a
just
feeling for
yeah, just a feeling of, I think that feeling of burnout and exhaustion of having felt like I had to carry so much for so long. Um, being a single mom, I have a 16-year-old son, and just kind of, not being able to rely on his dad, not feeling like anyone really had my back. And it all had to come from me. And now that my parents are getting older too, they're kind of in a situation where they don't have necessarily a big retirement. And so they're going to rely on us kids. There's 6 of us, but, to help them. And so it's overwhelmed at the weight of responsibility. And I really just like run away, go, I don't know, travel and enjoy the world and explore and adventure and not have to worry and work so much.
Sounds awesome. Mm. It sounds great. So really the thing that is keeping you from that is just fear of the unknown.
Yeah. And a sense of responsibility to my son. He's got
Right.
another year and a
Us,
half of high
it's not just us anymore. We have to cover all
school.
the bases.
Yeah. I mean, his dad is not stepping up in any way.
So what's not fun about this whole thing, Maria? And I say that with all due respect and understanding as a fellow mom who does everything myself as well. What is not fun about this?
Not fun about my situation.
Like, what's not fun about carrying all this weight?
It doesn't feel fair. And so there's anger in there too. There's anger underneath of, I don't know.
Probably some resentment also. And
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Nikki's more stick with questions than filler,
uh,
just for the dynamic.
yeah.
So what's your best case scenario?
My best case scenario?
Yeah, what's the best case scenario for you, given what you've just said?
Mhm. Well, hmm.
Take your time. You're both doing a really good job. This is the fun about this whole method. It's like, all right, let's just go there. So, what is the best case scenario for you?
Mm. I think maybe even in the midst of my current situation and scenario, to start creating more time for myself that to do things that open up that part inside of me that has the creative solutions and has a sense of wonder and belief in possibility.
You're doing good. You're doing great. How do you feel right now? What's coming up for you? Are you okay to continue?
What?
Are you okay?
Yeah.
I know we're all watching you, so that's I'm just checking on you. Yep. I know. I totally know. I feel you.
Me too. Definitely in the same boat.
Oh yeah, Nikki's also a single mom.
Mm.
Nikki, your daughter or your child, I don't know if it's a kid or a girl or a boy, but it's a teenager.
Both.
Oh, okay.
Both. Yeah, 19 and 15.
That's what I
Wow.
felt. Right. So you two are actually quite similar.
Wow.
Destined.
Yeah, I think um this case scenario.
So just watch this trance. It's so cool. It's an unfolding trance right in front of you. Like I asked, what, 3 minutes ago, what's the best case scenario? And her mind is just like looking for it. Like, what is it? I don't know. So she's just like trancing out. And she's just checking. Like it's out there in the universe somewhere. It's just very interesting to watch.
I mean, to be honest, I feel like I really do have a ton to be grateful for in my life right now. But I've been trying to focus on that. So that I can like shift to more that sense of open possibility and curiosity about what's next. But
So
yeah,
has something ever happened to you that really like blew your mind? Like came out of nowhere and made everything improve?
yeah. I mean, my current relationship blows my mind all the time. Like we've been together for almost 2 years, and he's the partner that I've been wanting for a really, really long time. And I feel like I've done tremendous amount of healing within the relationship with him, because of who we are and how we hold space for each other and stuff. So it's been already, almost 2 years of a transformative process for me. And I'm learning from him because he's really comfortable with the unknown and really comfortable with a life unfolding and flowing with that unfolding, instead of like, it almost in the beginning especially made me kind of nervous, like, well, what are you rooted in? Like, what's your foundation? Like, what, and I think I needed, and I need that to like help unstick me, because I felt like I've had, for the past 16 years, had to like dig in and root and build and, provide and, generate income and do everything I can to provide the best I can, do the best I can by my son. And so now I do feel like this relationship has provided a container for me, or like not even container, but kind of, we're building the container together, but an inspiration to expand into myself and into my life, Um, so I guess that kind of is the best case scenario, really. I mean, because you never know what life's going to bring, and to have someone witness me as my authentic self in all of my states has been tremendously healing.
Awesome. So how do you think it would affect your boyfriend and your son to see you overcome this?
Smart question, Nicole.
Yeah, I think it would be illuminating. And I feel like, especially even recently, they've been super demonstrative and expressive of their love for me and like their appreciation for me as a person, and just for what I do and what I provide and who I am. And that feels really good.
Yeah, that's great.
How are they going to know when you've overcome this problem?
Hmm. Hmm. Good question.
See, just so everyone knows, like from the instructional point of view, the answer doesn't matter. It just matters where it took her. See, it took her somewhere into the future where she's her new self.
Yeah.
See, look at that. It's so cool. I don't even know where she is in space and time, but she's not exactly here. She's in some it's the laughing, the crying together. It's very trancy. So,
Yeah, it's better than it was 2 minutes ago. Doing
but
a
also
lot better.
just from the instructional point of view, like it doesn't matter if she knows what they're gonna know when she's this person. She doesn't know who it is yet. Do you see how like that's also, but what it does do is take her into her subconscious. And look, even while she's listening to me, you can see her subconscious is working on it. You see that? She's like kind of paying attention, but there it is again. There it is again. The retrieval process, looking for it. Yeah, that's a good question, Maya. How are they going to know when I change? I don't fucking know. I have no clue. Nobody here on the call knows. But it's out there in the quantum field somewhere. So that's all we're doing with these questions. It's called fractionation, and I'll explain it after this demo is over, but that's what's happening. So you can see it's like a fractionation over a fractionation over a fractionation. Do you see it? Her doing it right still right now? So weird, right? We're not even doing therapy. I'm talking to her. I'm talking to you all as a group, and it's going on. Just as so you all know, trance is very robust. Like it doesn't care what else is going on. It doesn't. Just in case you think it's fragile, it's not fragile.
Mm.
So Nicole, do you know what the problem is right now?
Just from our past training, I feel like, the base is maybe not feeling enough and just kind of going from there. But right now, no, it's
Because I don't know either. I don't really started with imposter syndrome, then it went into life's not fair, then it went into single parenthood, money, also exhaustion, boredom with current job.
yeah.
Just so you know, like all of that is her conscious rationalization, right? It's all guesswork as to why I don't feel that good right now. So, it's neither here nor there. I'm not saying it's incorrect, but I'm also saying it's not exactly the problem, right? So I would just clarify with her at this point. So, given everything we've been talking about, what is the problem right now, or what do you think of the problem? And that's just as much for me as the therapist as for her, because I would like to reassess where we are in the conversation.
Right, because we have gone all over the place.
And that's why I'm saying, like, if you ever get to a point as the practitioner where you're like, well, are we getting anywhere? You know, has anything happened? Re-ask the question. Okay, so well, now that you've said everything you've said, what's the problem? Let's just see what she.
How do you solve a problem like Maria? Welcome to my subconscious.
I love it though. It's like it's so accurate to the human experience. Like that's exactly what my whole pre-talk was saying. You don't know what it is. If you knew, you would have changed it already.
That's
And
right.
I know you personally, so I know that even more about you. Like you have tools, you have education, you have intuition, you have all kinds of skills.
Mhm.
So we know that you would change it if you could, but you just don't know what to do yet.
Mm.
So it's normal that you're just giving us predictive guesswork.
Mhm.
But so now Nikki's asking you again. So what brings you here? What is the problem actually?
Hmm.
So just notice everyone how nothing is happening and everything is happening. Did I ask her to laugh? Did I ask her to cheer up? Did I ask her to go into a trance? No. It's just the natural human experience. The mind is naturally hypnotic.
I guess bottom line is it's the whole dilemma of just wanting to be and having to do all the time. Like there's so much doing and work. And I just want to like, even within that doing, want to feel that sense of just being present, just taking in the amazingness of what this life is and not get lost in the weeds and the bullshit.
So
Schlag.
when do you want to do this?
My favorite question, Nicole. When?
I remember that from what I was watching yesterday.
It's the best question. When?
When?
All the time. Like, yeah.
When do you want it to start?
Now.
So what do you think needs to change for it to start now?
Hmm.
Do you guys see how direct that is?
Mm-hmm.
You get to disable my monkey mind. Um,
That's a fair answer. So your monkey mind is part of why it's not right now.
disable the ego. I don't know.
Okay. How?
Hmm. Give it something else to occupy it. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you feel right now?
Mm, I actually feel, I don't know, kind of like that inner sense of joy kind of opening up in my chest and in my heart a little bit.
Do you guys think that's bizarre?
This is very bizarre.
It's so weird. Like, does anybody understand that? It's just so wild, right? Like the super conscious will always come to your rescue. That's the beauty of ACH. Because I don't even know what we've done therapeutically. I have no clue. I don't exactly know why we're here yet. Yes, she's telling me I feel better. I feel a sense of joy that I didn't feel when we started. That's cool, right? I'm not saying we solved it. I'm not saying we're done. I'm just saying it's proof that Nicole's not trained. She doesn't know what she's doing at all. She's guessing, right? Interrupting her and talking over her and interrupting.
Perfect.
And yet Maria's still having a great effect. Like if she paid for this, she would be probably pretty satisfied. Like, okay, that was not as, useless as some of the therapy I've done. Okay. So what quality do you need to develop in yourself in order to make it more now?
Ooh.
Hmm. Trust.
Oh, trust. Okay. That's it. You're doing a really good job. It's not that easy to be honest, especially on a group call. You're doing a really good job. Trust. I hear you. Trust.
Trust.
Yeah.
How is trust going to, how are we trusting, or how are we working on trust to make it happen?
Yeah.
What are we trusting in?
Yeah. And just be careful with your pronouns, just to be super clear with her subconscious, it's her. So what are you?
What are you hoping to
Trust more in.
or in? Yes.
Hmm.
Trust in what is all I would say. So take out any extra words and just use the fewest number of words. So when she says trust, I will repeat back to her, oh, trust. Okay. That's a good addition. So trust in what?
Hmm. Trust in my own ability to trust in myself. I mean, trust in, and also the unfolding of life in, I mean, I don't believe in God as like some entity, but in source and that which I'm a part of, but is much bigger than me.
That's beautiful.
Mm.
What do you want to know about it, Nicole? What are you curious about when she says that? So instead of looking at the cheat sheet, just go into your own mind and ask yourself, like, if she was just my friend sitting here chatting with me, what would I be curious about when she says to me, I want to have more trust in myself?
What are some things that you can do to start having more trust in yourself?
Really sorry to interrupt again. I'm really trying not to. But what I want to say about that one is steer away from solution-based questions.
Okay.
Because right at a solution-based question, the conscious mind wants to give you an answer, and it feels put on the spot sometimes.
Okay.
So solution, advice, those are questions to resist more. They're more traditional. So how about Nicole, something, we're going to stick with trust, something more like, what would it feel like to trust yourself more? Or what would your business look like if you had more trust in yourself?
Okay. What would your business look like if you trusted yourself more?
How about we go with when so that we make it more therapeutic instead of if?
Or when?
Mm.
That's it. See, did we ask her to close her eyes? No.
Mhm.
This is more than you can ever ask for. This is like so beautiful. She put herself into a trance there and now she's looking for it.
guess it would feel, and I've felt this before in my massage work, it feels effortless and timeless, like just like life happening and not forced, just sense of ease.
So how do you get by without that? How do you get by without the sense of ease?
By paying a high price with my own energy and my own willpower, I guess, my own kind of willing things into being, into existence.
How much more of that do you have in you?
Not a lot. Not a lot.
How do you know this is the right moment to do something about that?
My own inner wisdom and intuition, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I just know it's my birthday, so I just know.
Yep. My rebirth day.
That's awesome.
So what skills do you already have which can help you?
I could be meditating a lot more.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you say that?
In yoga. Because that really gets me totally aligned and centered within myself. And I come out of meditation usually when I'm practicing it with any consistency, with a feeling of feeling resourced and feeling ready to contribute.
Okay, and so the meditation will give you that ballast or that strength, but to do what? See, and by
Really,
the way, that's just all I'm curious about. Like, it's nice for someone to say, "Oh, I'm going to meditate and do yoga." Okay, great. But what's that going to do about the problem? That's all I want to know is like, how does she understand that?
to create the life I want to create for myself, my son, with my partner, of abundance and enjoyment of life, and to contribute to the well-being of anyone whose life I touch, but definitely those who I come to me intentionally for healing work.
Do you feel like an imposter when you say that?
Less so than when we started the session, I
Okay,
guess.
just checking. That's what I was wondering because you said that with like a lot of conviction where I believed it. So then I thought, oh, well, is she just saying that or does she really feel that way?
Yeah. Yeah, I do feel more that way in this moment.
What could make you feel more that way? What do you need more of?
Mm. Rest. I don't know. I feel so tired all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like,
Normal, totally normal. Yeah, by the way, everyone, I haven't given you that part of the course yet, but we will prepare people for how they're going to feel and explain it. Right now, we're just playing around, although we're having a very powerful experience playing around. But that's normal. It's normal to feel super tired once your brain starts to rewire itself. I tell people to sleep after the session. What's your feeling on the problem in general right now? Do you have a problem? Is there a problem? If so, what is it? Okay, again, everybody watch. Did I tell her to go into a trance? No. Did I tell her 10, 9, 8, 7, close your eyes? No. Totally spontaneous. And stay there as long as you want. We have nowhere to be other than right here, right now. So take your time.
I don't really know. I mean, I'm feeling a lot less the imposter syndrome thing. And I guess there's a question of, do I even want to continue doing something as a livelihood that means working with people on problems? Maybe I just want to go be a stylist or sell clothing or something. Or
Do you?
something entirely different.
Yeah, do you? Do you want to just be like, okay, the healing part of my life is I've done that and now I could be creative or be an artist or something else? Do you want that?
Maybe, you know,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of fear that comes up around, get real, Maria. Like, are you really going to make a living doing that? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great question. Are you?
Being an artist?
Yeah, like if you just dropped everything right now and went off to, paint windowsills or whatever, would it be good?
No way to say. I mean, I come from a family of artists and no one's ever made it big. I mean, my uncle is a painter and, you know, he's been very productive and I think successful, but I know.
Let me ask you a question that came up for me when you said, I'm tired of dealing with people's problems, because that's why I never trained in psychology. Like we have a weird counter story, you and me. I avoided it the whole time, even though I knew I was called to it, because I never wanted to put myself in other people's problems because I figured I had enough of my own. So I can understand that. And yet here I am in this business now, which you could think of as a problem business, but I don't. I think of it as a solution business. So I'm wondering if you dealt with people's so-called problems, but really you were getting them out of the problems, would that have the same problematic feel to it, or would that solve that?
Oh, that would definitely solve that. Yeah, I think that's the wall I keep hitting in my massage practice of
Right. Not going away. It's too circular.
not going away. Yeah.
The problem is not being a healer. The problem is that the healing is not working fast enough.
Yeah. Well, and I have my own physical limitations. Like I'm playing with my wrist right now. I have this tendonitis thing and injury in my wrist that it's from repetitive use.
Yep.
That it just won't go away. I'm not getting any younger. You know,
I hear you. I agree. So
No.
what would you gain from having a business that didn't use your hands, but used your other skill set, faculties, intuition, words, and the problems went away? What would you gain from that?
relief. And yeah, a new direction, a new sense of purpose and efficacy, hopefully.
What would you lose?
I guess an attachment to the attachment to the sense of tangibility of doing body work and touching someone, and like that contact with them physically with my hands is a really grounding element in my life and it's been a really grounding thing for me to do body work.
So have you ever wondered why it's hard to be grounded without touch?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Because my mind is very strong. And that's where my attention and my energy usually concentrates, is in my mental self. So,
Nikki, what do you want to know? This is like so fascinating. So she's telling us, I've used touch as a grounding mechanism, and now my body is tired of it. But my mind is a little, unpredictable or whatever. So I'm not sure I can let that go. So what do you want to know? What are you curious about?
I'm having a problem with how to tell if it's a solution-based question that I am going to ask, because I feel like
Totally, I agree with you. I have the same problem. And that's very fair. That's very fair. And also, don't forget, Nicole, that we've all been basically indoctrinated into solution-based questions by our own therapy, by TV, by movies, by the images we have of therapy. So it's like not that you are having that issue, it's that that's the way we've all learned to help people. So I think that's very
having like over my mouth to like keep from like blurting out like, this is what you think or this is what you feel.
right. I totally get it. And in the end, that's what we want people to say is, well, what's the advice that you're waiting for me to say? Like that's
Exactly.
right. That's a normal, except for you're noticing from being present through this whole experience. And I appreciate that you're letting me, interrupt you so much, but you're noticing that the questions are not really what's creating the shift, because they're out of order, right? Like, does anyone logically know what we're talking about right now? I mean, I sure don't. But I know I'm somewhere inside of Maria's deep mind, and I know that it's sorting itself out. So I don't really need to know where I'm headed with it. So Nicole,
Yeah, it's just that all of the questions that I'm coming up with feel like I'm trying to guide her or solution based, or I'm trying to prod her to figure it out, are the questions that I keep
I'd
going
like
up.
to know what you're thinking, you're curious about, even if we're not going to ask it to Maria. What are you curious about?
What is it going to take?
I don't think that's a solution. I think that's a good question. That's not a solution-based question. What's it going to take what?
To get to where she wants to be. What's it going to take to make this change happen in her life?
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so now I see what you mean. It is a little solution-based because we're asking her, okay, so what do you want to do? But let's just see what happens, just because you're curious.
Yeah.
But I see your reservation and I'll
Okay.
talk about it as we go on. But you're doing a great job. This is our first go. And also look at all the
Okay.
Maria already got out of it without you having any training whatsoever. That's pretty remarkable in itself.
Right.
Give yourself some credit there. And also, Maria, what do you think of that question? What is it going to take for this to shift? See, look, it worked.
Um,
It's just good training just to watch the movement between conscious and subconscious, which you can see so easily with her.
I think spending more time in that kind of trance-like state. I mean, that's why I brought up meditation is,
Yeah.
it's that vast, infinite resource of knowledge and wisdom and collective consciousness, and that that's where the effortlessness comes from, I think, of thought and of action. It's not sustainable to expect it to come from that conscious list making and willpower and, well, I think I want this, and so being in communion more with that inner self, like deepest inner self, not just all the accumulated practice and knowledge of being who I think I am.
Awesome. So how are you feeling right now?
Ready to chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty chill. Are you feeling confident about making these changes? Are you still in fear?
No, I feel like I feel curious. I feel open.
Wow, that's a huge difference, eh? I feel curious and open rather than I feel scared and alone and like this is all unfair. And by the way, guys, that's it. That's the magic of AC. I can burst into tears. All it is giving somebody options instead of I feel stuck. And you see, she might not know the solution, but now she has faith and an opportunity where before she had frozenness and fear. So, like to me, especially for a demo session, that's pretty wild already.
Thank you.
I wasn't quite done though. I did want to ask you this. What's scary about the unknown? I've been wanting to ask you that for a few minutes because now you're talking about, well, the unknown is where everything is that I want. And so but before you said the unknown was what was intimidating you. So I was just wanting to make sure we got reconciled there.
Mm.
Like, what is scary about the unknown? And I agree, I'm scared of the unknown sometimes too.
No, well, I guess the fact that there's no way to predict or control,
Yeah.
like what the outcome is going to be, or what, yeah. Hmm.
Did the partner that you manifested come out of the unknown?
I know, yeah. I feel like it was divine grace. I mean, it just Yeah, well, you know me, Maya, but like everything I've been through in intimate partnerships has been major testing ground for developing that trust muscle,
Yeah.
mostly in myself.
What's the analogy of that to the professional?
Hmm.
Because you're right, you've been developing this trust muscle until the right partner appeared for you to exercise that muscle you've been developing. And now we're talking about a similar thing on the side of livelihood, which
Mhm.
is I've been developing my trust with my practice, with my intuition, and now I'm looking into the unknown.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It's something's reorganizing in there about all of that.
That's right. See, she doesn't even know what the question is, but she knows something's happening. That's pretty good. What's the smallest thing you want to do based on this conversation to get more of the life that you deserve?
Smallest thing.
And I'm not going to ask her the biggest thing because that will set her conscious mind working again because it'll be like, I could do this, I could do that. So I'm just like, what's the smallest thing? Because that's more intuition.
Hmm. I would say devote and make time, set aside like a few hours a week to of unstructured creative time for myself. I don't know why that just came up, but make art or just lay there and rest.
Nikki, I saw you had a reaction to that. What did you feel?
Crap. It literally like just left my brain.
I saw you acknowledge. I mean, I thought what you were doing was acknowledging that her subconscious came up with something on the spot there.
It did, and then it just went right when you asked me about it. I'm
Oh,
like,
you're doing a great job. This is not,
oh.
it's not super, and you're also very brave for volunteering first. Let's all give you credit for that. I mean, that's what I was asking was like, that was pretty surprising. Her subconscious was like, I know, I'll go for the opposite of everything that we've been talking about. I'm not going to do stability. I'm not going to like make more money. I'm going to do unstructured nothingness. And that,
Yeah, because that just seems like if it's something that comes from your unconscious like that's like the first thing that you blurt out, then it's kind of like your little child is like, this is what I need.
exactly. No, I agree. And I saw your subconscious, Nikki, pick up on that. That's why I asked you. I then, scared it to forgetting, but that's fine. But it's
Yeah.
true. Like her subconscious is saying, I don't have imposter syndrome. I don't have doubt in my abilities. I actually know what I need. And one of those things is I need less structure,
Yeah.
which is funny, right? Because that's kind of the opposite of how it started. It started with I need more money, I need more stability, I need more fairness.
Or now it's like I need to do less.
I need to have like this wide open thing where I don't know what the answer is quite. And how do you feel right now about this whole thing of reformatting your business and changing the energy output and changing the results? See, I don't want to let her off the hook too easily. I do
Yeah,
want
like
to make
still
sure.
feel
That's my
overwhelming. Does that still feel overwhelming? All of
good
that?
question.
Um, mm, not overwhelming, but not clear yet. Um, I think that what comes up as a question is, do I just walk away from what I'm doing now and just be like, okay, time to totally refocus onto something new, like this kind of work? Or do I try to do a little bit of this type of work while still doing that?
Mhm. What would
Yeah,
make you feel comfortable?
probably more of an integrated weaving in and transition. But what feels clear, more clean and clear to me moving forward would be to not try to necessarily integrate the work I do with my existing clients, but to just, if I were to do the hypnosis work with people, totally different clientele. Not, I don't know why that feels more clean and clear to me. And it seems silly to like, because already I've mentioned it to a couple of my clients. They're like, oh, I'll be the first, yeah, sign me up. And then I'm like, do I want to do this work with you though? I don't. So
So how would that work though? Like, how would you say, I'm doing this, but I don't want to work with you?
I know. What I'm saying. There's that like, do I want to let people down kind of feeling? Or,
How long have you been an entrepreneur?
well, I don't know that I would consider myself that, but small business owner, like 14 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you've basically raised a child on an income you've generated, self-generated as a solo practitioner, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's been the past 3 or 4 years only for my private practice. Prior to that, 8 years at 10,000 Waves and
But I guess
stuff.
what I'm getting at is you've figured it out the whole time, haven't you?
Yeah.
Have you ever had a time? I mean, I've known you that whole time, so I know the answer, but have you ever had a time where you couldn't pay rent? So
No,
has it been getting more and more comfortable as you've been aging and getting better at your skill?
for sure.
Do you have more information now than you've ever had in the past?
Hmm.
So, do you think this is a good time in terms of the evolution of your business and self that you could properly make those kind of assessments
You mean
about?
what direction to go or what to,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, just given that you've never had a total failure before, you know that you can stay in business and pay your bills no matter what, basically.
Mhm.
Now at 40, whatever today is your birthday, I don't know the exact number, but I know the range. Today at 40, whatever, you know more than you've ever known before.
Mhm.
So, do you have enough to go on that it's pretty likely that whatever you develop will work?
Sure.
I mean, would you say your hardest days are behind you?
I hope so. But realistically, I know that, thinking back to the first 2 or 3 years probably of my practice, um, you know, it took a while to build. And so I don't think that moving into something like this is gonna set me back to, ground zero as far as building something else.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Yeah, and how do you feel about that?
Not afraid. I feel like, why not try something? I mean, here's the thing is I can always fall back on massage if I needed to or wanted to,
Yep.
or just, can always build slowly.
So let me ask you this. Let's say that you're just too scared and you never change it. Is that going to be okay?
No.
Let's say the fear is just like, yeah, no, I want the stability. I'm just going to keep doing massage. So in 10 years, you'll be doing more massage and your wrists will hurt more. Right.
Oh.
Definite no for you. Okay. Right. I mean, that's the whole thing with transformation, right? Like it's all fun and games until the rubber meets the road. And then at the end of the day, it's like, well, do I want things to stay the same or not? And I guess what you're telling me is the status quo has served me for a long time and it's worn itself out now. So I do have to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
So, how can you most equip yourself to prepare for that? I'm not saying it's not scary and I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I am hearing you say I have to.
Mm-hmm.
So, given that, what?
Well, I mean, I feel like taking this workshop this weekend
Yep.
is my first
Good answer. Great plug for my class. Thanks.
solid step in that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Anything else?
Hmm. No, I think just to remain open and curious and ask for support too in going forward.
I will
Mm.
talk to you about all the ways I will support you as well. So, how do you feel right now? I mean, in terms of the profession and developing the skill.
Excited.
Yep. Okay. Have you not said anything? Is there anything you haven't told us? Is there anything you've held back that you wish you had said?
Hmm.
That's an Ericksonian question, everybody.
Not really, but I had a really interesting this morning. I had my truck in the shop
Yep.
and I went to pick it up this morning, and the guy behind the counter, sweet guy, like, considering he's an auto body shop or auto shop. And he's like, so how's your day going? I said, pretty good so far. And I said, and I'm really excited. I'm doing this workshop today. He's like, oh yeah, what's it about? I said, well, hypnosis, and I kind of was giggling. I was like, I felt weird telling him that. And that was like the imposter syndrome thing, I think. And he's like, don't laugh. That's great. He's like, well, are you doing this to develop yourself? Or are you doing this like to, help other people and like help them start smoking or like just, and I was like, actually both. So
Yeah.
it was this really weird, like this guy I barely know. It just a freaking car thing. He's like, don't laugh.
I know. So
Oh,
guess
that's
what?
so awesome.
If you had handed him a card, he would hire you too, because everybody needs a hypnotist. They just don't
He had a
know.
little pack of American spirits in his pocket.
Exactly. That's it. And that's how you pick up your clients. Exactly right. It's not I'm not joking right now.
Yeah, no, I believe you. So, anyways, that was a little story that I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Just
Well, there was also the universe messaging you. Sorry, Nikki.
I
First-
think that's like fine timing, like letting her know that she's on the right path, for somebody
Yeah.
to give her affirmation about something that she's feeling nervous about.
Absolutely. I totally think that's what it is. Okay. Do you feel resolved, Maria, enough to come back and talk about this? I see I said no transformations, but there it is. You can't avoid it. It's like part of the technology. So Jim, thank you so much, Nikki. You did an amazing job. I realize that you're the least equipped of anyone right now. So you're volunteering, and please feel free to volunteer again as we go on. Jim, you want to bring everybody back onto the same screen, please?
We're here.
Yep. Any questions on what you observed? Do you see
Well,
how-
my biggest question is still the same, is just the solution-based questions, like how to tell, because some of the questions that you were asking, I was like, but that's a solution-based question.
I agree. I agree. I know. And I don't think it's obvious, and I don't think it's easy. And I think it's even harder when I'm the one whispering in the background, no, not that one. So when you're on your own, you'll have a very different view of it. But I'm just going to explain to you now, and we'll take a break in about 20 minutes. I'm going to explain to you now a little of what you observed. So, as you could see, we were 10 minutes in before she had her first really important insight, right? And it brought about emotion, some crying, some feelings. And so the question is, how is it possible to get there that fast? And how is it possible in just 55 minutes to go from I have an insoluble problem that I've had a long time to I feel excited and here are some of my ideas to solve it? So the answer is the questions are not intended to bring out answers. The answer is irrelevant 95% of the time. The important part of the process was what we call fractionation. So it works like this. Question makes you retrieve information. Second question makes you retrieve information. Third question makes you retrieve information. And as this gets more and more repetitive, the subconscious mind starts to understand, oh, I'm at work right now. It's my time. I'm going to do my job. And then it starts to participate. And that's where you start to see the laughter. You saw I thought Maria was an interesting case because she can laugh and cry together. So you see this like interesting mixture, right? That's not that easy to come by. Like that's very subconscious. You know, when someone's laughing and crying at the same time, it's their whole self, percolating. So it's that fractionation process that creates a retrieval mechanism that creates an access point to the superconscious mind. Like I thought it was super interesting when she said, oh, and I feel joy coming out of my chest now. And I was like, what the hell, man? We've been doing this for 21 minutes. I haven't said anything. I don't even know why we're here.
You were just crying a minute ago.
No, you were just crying. All I've been doing is interrupting Nikki and talking over her, probably annoying the shit out of her. And yet Maria's still over here in a trance, having her own healing experience. I mean, that is bizarre. Like, I don't know what else to tell you other than that's the way it works. So fractionation is what you're going for, not getting to the end of the problem. So as you can see, her resolution wasn't the traditional, okay, I should go get a life coach and figure out how to open my next business and, pay someone to print new cards. Like that would be the kind of cheesy, okay, I figured it out. Let me go do that. But that's not really an answer because she could figure that out on her own. The answer is, oh, there is a part inside of me that knows I'm capable of this. And there's a part of me that's excited and ready. And there's a part of me that's so sick of the past and so sick of the way it's been that I'm not going that way anymore. And there she got her resolve right in that space. I'm not doing it the old way. I'm doing it a new way. The new way is going to require this of me. I think I should do some unstructured creativity or maybe just lay down and take a nap. And now I feel like I'm not an imposter anymore. Wow. It's like so amazing. And it was so quick. And did I have to give her instructions? Like I see Judy nodding, and Judy's like a really experienced EMDR practitioner. So she's got years on all of us here. But what I want to say about it is I didn't have to ask her to do anything. In EMDR, you have to say to the person, okay, we have to start our sets now. Are you ready? And half the time I've worked with Judy in EMDR a lot, and I just want to talk. So I'll take her 45 minutes in, and then she'll be like, can we get to the EMDR now? And then we have to cram it into like 10 minutes, And so it's like the instructions start to interfere with the flow. So what's very different about this, and Judy, I'll ask you, for your reply or response if you want to share it. Like, what's different about this is I didn't have to say to you, close your eyes. I didn't have to say to you, who are your resources? I didn't have to say to you, are you ready for this? Because all of that is me giving you an instruction that your subconscious may or may not take to. And if it doesn't take, which it won't, if it's really, afraid or resistant, then I've lost the thread and I have to say, okay, next week we'll work on that. So, like, the wide open spaciousness of the questioning is what allows the subconscious to say, okay, I feel safe enough to come forward and emerge. And it's really, really magical and beautiful, and you can't really put your finger on it. So all those times she closed her eyes or started laughing or whatever, it was spontaneous. I didn't have to tell her to do any of it. Maria, did you have any intuition that you were in a trance? Like, could you feel it? Can you feel it now?
Yeah. I mean, I've done some self-hypnosis stuff, that manifestation work I think I shared with you.
Yep.
And I think between that experientially and then also meditative practice, but also doing body work, like I said, I feel like I kind of go into a trance when I'm doing body work. And, like our nervous systems get entrained to each other too, and so when someone drops into that parasympathetic state,
Yep.
and starts to breathe more deeply, or really, so I guess I'm pretty familiar with the feeling of that conscious gnawing on something versus
Yep.
dropping down.
Did you all notice what Maria's like real subconscious cues are? And they're different for everyone. So I know some classes will teach you like, well, when someone looks up to the left, they're lying. And when somebody, shrugs, this is, but I don't believe in any of that. I think it's really unique to each person. What did you notice was Maria's like signature subconscious move?
Like closing her eyes and laughing.
Yep, closing your eyes and laughing. Yeah, Riley put notes a laugh. I mean, I noticed a lot of looking to the side. Like as soon as we asked her something she wasn't too sure about, she looked, and then she would look again and like really take a moment. So the way the eyes were moving, the laughter, the giggling, the crying for sure. And what else? Anything else? I mean, I just noticed that the timbre of her voice stretched more when it got subconscious. So when she was telling us the problem, it was like tighter in, more rapid communication, more direct. When she started to get subconscious about like, oh, the unstructured time and this and that, then it started to feel like we were walking through like mud or something, like it was much more taffy like. The words were stretching out more. So that's what I mean when I say a subconscious mind whisperer. Like that's what you start to get really smart at and attuned to is like, oh, that went into her subconscious. Let me follow that one instead of, oh, that one is super clear to me. I know exactly what she'll say if I ask that question. So always following the unconscious bit of the response. Can you tell the difference between the conscious and subconscious pieces? Nikki, could you?
Yeah, like you're saying, when she was in their subconscious, it's slower as to more direct. Like I know what I'm talking about when she's in her consciousness. Yep. And when subconscious, it's like, this maybe sort of, yes. Like out, like thinking, but not thinking, I guess is the.
Yep, exactly right. Thinking, but not thinking. Correct. Okay, so who else has questions just on how that went or why it went the way that it did? Does it seem something you can do quite easily? Like, keep in mind, you have no notes by yet, you have no backup stuff. All you did was have my voice and your curiosity.
Yeah, I definitely would like to have like a list of questions that are better to draw from than just kind of, because like I said, I'm going from the other hypnosis where I'm like, what about this? How about that? Or what do you think about this? Trying to like solve it for them or lead them or, just offer suggestions, and it's very hard. So I'm just like this.
You did a really good job. Like I said, I put you on the spot there, so you're courageous for even going for it. But yes, so if you haven't looked already in the files, part of the Facebook group, there are cheat sheets there. I don't give them out on day one because I want to prove the premise to you first, which is that there's no script. If I give you a bunch of questions, then there's a script, right? So what I'm showing you right now is it's not scripted. It's really in the moment. It doesn't matter which questions you ask necessarily, you'll get there anyway. But yes, I will provide a cheat sheet also because it's easier and more fun that way. So yes, and yes to both.
Yeah, definitely could wing this better than there's no way I could wing the other one.
That is the key, Nikki, is exactly that. You cannot wing traditional hypnosis because you have to know what suggestions you're going to offer. Same with EMDR. You can't really wing EMDR if there's no setup because you need to know like who are the resources, what's the timing, like you have to have that set up. So already the subconscious at that point knows we're going to start now. And when we're going to start now, that's where it starts to be like, maybe I will and maybe I won't. So that's give you ACH. No, none of that prep and none of that backup. Riley?
Hey, that was so beautiful, you guys. It was amazing. So part of what I think my biggest question is right now, Maya, is sort of like, is part of entering the copacetic space the soft coming in and out of it, or do you really see it as like maybe coming in and staying there for a sustained amount of time? I'm a really visual person, so I'm trying to imagine almost like a wave and the frequency and the aperture of that wave.
Wow, good question. The frequency and aperture of the wave. Gosh, that's like a highly sophisticated question. That's a great question and I love it. So I'll just give you my personal feeling. It's not a theoretical answer. Oh my God, she's on the beach on top of everything else. It's gorgeous out there. So I feel like when I begin the session, and I will this afternoon talk to you about how I prepare my space and myself, because I think that will give you insight into the answer. So I'll do that after our little lunch break. But I feel like we're entering into a capsule, right? So like, and then magnets come together and then we're both in it. You could call that a mastermind or you could call that whatever you want. But inside of that, I am a little psychic. So I start to like have a feeling of what's going on in the other person. Sometimes I'm just having their feelings. I'll give you an example of it. Wednesday, I had a young woman come in. Her eyes were just closing. She was so tired by the 50th, 60th minute. And I started to observe this in her. And then lo and behold, I started to fall asleep. Like literally. And I was not tired. I was not like out of good. I was in good health. I know. And so I could feel myself every time my eyes closed, like a flash of sleep. And I mean, like, that's a really weird feeling, especially if you're the one being paid big money to keep the whole thing going. But I could tell that our subconsciouses were like really, really working in tandem there. So I could also tell that whatever I was going to start thinking and feeling was going to be reciprocated as well. So to me, it was a very interesting, and she had a great session and she felt a lot better after and it all went off fine. But I could just tell from how physicalized it became for me, that like, oh, that's the experiment or experience of our subconscious is like really merging. So I do feel that I'm like in a capsule in that moment. If I look back on the 200 people that I've seen so far, I feel like we've been on a lot of trips. Like I feel that I've been a lot of places, not space-time places, but like places. So I do think that it has a thing of like, and then you're in it and you're very focused on it and very involved in it. And then it ends and everything goes back to so-called normal, but the normal has been adjusted. So I think this is a good question also for tomorrow, because I'm going to teach you, like at the end of the session, what do you do when the person is exhausted or confused or feels drunk or whatever? Like you can't just say, okay, your session's over now, see you later. Like you have to work with that. And there's more to this than just curiosity. Like I will set it up as a formal session so you know what to do. But the long story short is, yes, I think you do get sucked into that capsule. And I think that's what you're being paid for, is the quality of attention inside of the capsule. So as another answer, let me say this. When I'm here live, so this is my live chair right here. If somebody wants to sit in it, they're welcome to. My chair is across from them. You can't see it in my screen, but it's the exact same thing, but a mirror image. So if they're sitting here and they say to me, I need a break, like I had a smoker a while ago, he just needed to smoke. So there's nothing I can do. He has to get up and smoke. So he says, I'm going to go step outside. Okay, fine. So he steps outside. Do I do anything while he's out there? No, I don't check my phone. I don't stand up. I don't go to the bathroom. I don't powder my nose. I don't like mess with my computer. I literally am just sitting there holding on to that capsule until he re-enters it. Same if somebody goes to the bathroom or somebody's phone rings. Like I'm so involved in what's going on that I can't change my situation mentally, emotionally, physically anyway. So yes, I do think that it has a real thing of like when you're in it and it's a flow. But at the same time, I also want to say though, Riley, it doesn't bother me at all if somebody comes out, because they'll take themselves back in, whatever that all means. I'm putting it all in air quotes because what are we even talking about? They'll do it when their subconscious wants or needs to. So again, like let's say the UPS guy knocks on the door. Am I going to be like, oh shit, the whole thing's fucked? Like, no, I don't care, because I really know that it's a robust experience and that their subconscious is holding on to it. And that's proven by the fact that I can talk over the therapist and be commenting in the third person on the client while she's doing it, and it doesn't interfere her having the results. Like, that's weird. You could never do that in a traditional session. Imagine if I interrupted an EMDR session, was like, oh yeah, now this is what's happening. Go back to what you're doing. It wouldn't work. You would just be like all confused. But in this, because it's so much built on my radical trust in her and in everybody, I don't have to worry about all those so-called externals. And I do think that's why like this is the modality for me, because I love the simplicity of that. I love how clean that is. I love how portable that is. I like how it goes on Zoom. I like how you could take it to your kid's school and do it for 20 minutes in their classroom, or take it to a recovery center and do it for an hour per each person. Like it doesn't have any other requirements to it.
I feel like I already do this with my friends anyway. Like they're trying to like diagnose their issues, and so I just want to get before it this time.
Well, now you're going to build up your arsenal of how to do it more effectively rather than just a guessing game. Because yes, I think that if you're naturally a healer and a nice person, then you do know how to take people into themselves. But now is the question of, how do I make this dependable such that it can fit into 2 hours and I can get someone to change their life? Because that's what we're going for, really, is a 2-hour total transformation. And I'm not going to rush anybody, and I don't think you have to be good at it like instantly, but that's what it will amount to in time. And I mean, like, just to let everybody know, I started with 6 sessions at $1,000. I'm now 3 sessions for $2,000. So it changed really quickly for me. Any other questions just on Maria's session or on the morning so far? So what we've done this morning is just cover curiosity and the basic outline of ACH. That's all we've done so far. There's lots more to come if you feel confused or like, I don't know what the skill is yet. That's by design, because I wanted to prove to you that you don't need to know much. And now the more you know, the easier it'll get and the faster it'll get. So that's the bonus section coming up next. But like, bottom line is, how hard is that? You might be thinking, well, that's a scam. You know, how can somebody possibly teach me something like that powerful in that amount of time? Your life is what prepared you for that. All the sessions you've done, all the massage Maria has done, all the hypnosis Nicole has done, all the, you know, co-parenting Judy has done for families like mine. That's all. And I mean, Roland and Monique and Riley have all done their own, and Dink have all done their own stuff. All of that is what you're bringing. The client who comes to you is going to come to you because you're the person carrying whatever it is they need to take them into this experience. So if you think, oh, well, I don't have enough information, or oh, that's impossible that I could learn that in a weekend. No, not so. Everything that you have installed in yourself and become over the course of your life is what makes this possible. Your subconscious has been growing and growing into this your whole life. And will yours be able to heal everyone? No. It will heal the people who come to you and are drawn to you. And that's part of what I'll talk about on day 3 is like, well, how do we get the right people, and how do we figure out who they are, and how do we get them to pay us big money for this? Well, that's all like up, you know, to be continued. But I just want you to know that's already done. Like, I believe that's what the quantum field is like all this information, and we're just here, you know, expressing it one way. And my way happens to help those 200 people, and your way happens to help your, you know, thousands of people, whoever you end up with. Any other questions on the process so far? Yeah, Jim, I'd love to know if you
Riley says, Riley says, beginning to see the powerful self-transformation that takes place when we do this.
Yeah. And that's true, Riley. Aside from helping your clients, as you learn to live in the subconscious space more, yours will become more powerful. Like, I'll tell you a really hilarious joke. This is so cute. And then we'll take a little break and set up for the next demo, which we'll do this afternoon. So I went on this trip to Mexico, right, over the summer. I took this 10 days off. That was a big deal for me because I've been parenting solo, like Maria, like Nikki, like all of us, for a long time. And so as I began to travel, I heard, actually in words, my subconscious say to me, "Am I on break?" Like, as though there was a little entity in my head that knows, that that's its job in my body or in my soul. And I just got such a kick out of it when it said it to me, because I was like, yeah, you're fine. We're on vacation now. It was like it was just checking in with me to make sure that we were on the same page. And so all I'm saying is, like, I'm not crazy. I'm not schizophrenic. I don't have any issues with, like, I was going to say with mental health. That might be extreme. I have a few issues with mental health, but like, it's not a voice in my head. It's that my subconscious and I work together every day very closely and very acutely to where it's very strong now. And it's really doing what I ask it to do all the time, which is watching these unconscious moments and not getting distracted and not getting confused and taking me on this journey. So I totally agree with you, Riley. Like, the opportunity is really vast to become more familiar with yourself. And that's what makes the clients more familiar with themselves. So yeah, I agree. It's like a great great tool for self-development aside from everything else. And I'm so happy you get to all have it because it's been withheld from us all for way too long. Okay, one last question. Anybody have one last one? So we're gonna do, anyone? I don't mean to cut you guys off. So let's take a 30-minute lunch break now. If you need to eat when you get back because you're using the phone or something right now, that's fine. You can eat while we're continuing, but we're gonna take 30 minutes and then we'll just continue on till the end of the day. So you'll be here for 2.5 hours after that. So if you need to come and go, that's fine. We'll have a little bit of instruction after the break and then we'll do another demo. Everybody good with that? Questions? How you feeling, Maria? So
Great.
keep us posted. So what Maria is experiencing right now is going to be called processing time. So processing is the most important part, as Judy is nodding, for all of our modalities. It's like, no, you're not going to do everything in the time that they're there, but they're going to process and have an experience beyond your session. So we'll keep an eye on that and get an update from you later.